What's going on, y'all? So today we're gonna have the first lesson of for our next 12-week program here at the Making Academy, and it's gonna be focused on digital marketing and the legal side of the music industry. We're gonna look at record deals, how to start a record label, and all kinds of good stuff. And this first one's free here on YouTube, but going forward, just for a little bit, come join us over here at the Making It Academy. Just go to patreon.com/making it academy. You can join for as little as $10 a month, $20 a month, and get all of this exclusive content that we have available here already. We already have, was it close to, let me see, we have 7 videos here. So over 10 videos already on the Academy, and we're adding 12 more over the next 12 weeks with this new program. So I hope you enjoy this episode, and we're getting ready to dive on in. Live the life you love. So here we go. It's all about content, right? So this is kind of the foundation. And as we're looking at this journey at these next few weeks, we're going to talk a lot about the customer journey, which I'm going to get into today. And for those of you that are already part of the Academy, some of this stuff will be refreshed, and some of this stuff will be brand new. And this is kind of the foundation of starting your business in the industry, right? It's all about content. And regardless if it's music, if it's a label, if it's an artist management company, you're a producer, a venue, this is relevant to pretty much all areas of the music industry. So why content? So the key things, content is great in building community, collaborations, a way to reach new audiences, brand expansion, and what we'll look at in a second, it's also a great, I guess, almost free method, right? Besides the cost of gear, of course, and your time, but it's also a great top of funnel strategy. And we'll look at funnels in a second. So let's talk about community. Community, by figuring out what type of content to create, it's a great way of finding fans or connecting with fans over a common interest that you share, right, between you and the fans. And of course, if you have multiple fans that have that common interest as well, it's a great way for fans to engage with one another. So now your fans are becoming friends, and now they're looking forward to seeing each other at your shows, right, or at your events. So it's a great way to build community beyond just doing your live music and people just buying a ticket to go see your show. Now people have engaged with others that are part of the community, and now they're not just coming to see you, but they're also coming to now see your friends that are part of the community that you've created. So a lot of benefits to building community when it comes to creating content. It's also a great way of collaborating with other artists, other content creators, other people in your industry or whatever industry you're diving into for your regular content. And through those collaboration, right, you're expose yourself and others to you expose people to your fans, and then you get exposed to their fans as well as you're collaborating and sharing this content on each other's platforms. Also, it's a great way to share and collaborate creatively and learn about the creative process from others. One of the best ways to learn is from other fellow content creators, right, from other musicians, from other artists. That's one of the best ways to learn, is learning how other people do things as well, not just the way you do them, because you maybe are just stuck in doing it the same way over and over and over again. And this can really spark some new creativity even within you. It's also, as I said, was a great way to reach new audiences. And it's let's say you're a hip hop artist and then you're doing content about cooking, right? Or cooking with marijuana. Let's make it a little more interesting. Um, you find people that are also interested in that topic, right? Into cooking with marijuana or whatever it is that you're creating content about. If it's music business, you're interviewing people into industry, or it's production, you're creating content about producing music, or you creating content about live productions, or you're creating content about traveling, you're creating content about backpacking, you're creating content about being a vagabond, whatever it is, right? You're meeting other people that are not just interested now potentially in your music, but also in your content. And that exposure can now lead people to your music, right? I always say music is the last thing that matters until people hear it, and then it's the only way it matters. And how do you get people to hear your music? Create content that they're interested in, right? And if it's something that you're also genuinely interested in, it's authentic to you, that is just a win-win-win. And also, when you're creating this content, you're wherever you're putting it out there, whether it's a podcast, whether it's video, you now get ranked in that category, the category that you're creating content around. So now you're going to be compared or paired up with similar content creators, and again, now potentially exposed to their audiences for their content, and more ways to lead people to your music. So that goes hand in hand with brand expansion, right? It's a great way to expand the brand through the content. This gives you new options for creating different and unique merch. Now your merch doesn't need to be related to just your music. It can be related to the content. Sometimes it could be, funny, unexpected moment that of something that happened during your podcast, your video, or whatever it is you're creating, and that all of a sudden now becomes a piece of merch. So it expands your brand into new merch options, also new subscription offers, right? So if you're trying to create a Patreon channel, if you're trying to have a subscription program on Bandzoogle, whatever platform you use, now you have new levels or opportunities that you can create for subscriptions. Or even when you're raising money through crowdfunding on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or wherever you're raising money, now it gives you more options of packages you can include in your crowdfunding for your next album or your next tour, whatever you're raising money for. Also, it expands your brand and being able to create new experiences at your live events. Now you can create new exclusive meet and greet experiences or VIP experiences, whatever it is, right? It just really opens the door into bringing in more money. And then, of course, content is also one of the best top of funnel strategies. And we'll talk about that funnel in just a second. We're almost getting there. So what type of content? Just most important part, are you going to create video, audio, or written? Just focus on your strengths. Whatever type of content you speak best in, whether that's video or audio, or if it's written. The written form is not lost, but video has the biggest impact. You can not retarget, but repurpose video for more use. So I can take your video, cut it into little clips for Instagram, Twitter, and so on. You can take the audio and strip the audio from it and do just a podcast, or you can have a little minute episode podcast. You can now transcribe your video or the audio from your video, and now use that to create tweets, and then schedule out tweets right well far in advance. So a lot of things you can do with the video form. But again, speak to whatever form is most authentic to you and that you are most comfortable in. So if it's written, start with written. For me, it was audio. I hate being on camera. That's why on my lessons you see mostly the slides. You never really see my face except for the little icon in the corner or wherever it is, right? But with podcasting and then just recording the video version of the podcast or of me teaching, why not just turn on the video, right? I don't have to necessarily emphasize on that. I can use the slides to distract from the video since I can't stand being on camera. But always try to do video first if you can, and then audio, and then written. But again, whatever is most authentic to you, that's what you should go with. Now let's talk about the customer journey. The customer journey is basically the funnel, all right? So where the funnel starts, every customer goes through a journey. And the first stage of that customer journey is the awareness stage. At first, everyone is considered what's called a cold audience. And a cold audience means that people just don't know you exist yet. They're just not aware of you yet, right? Again, it could be your music, it could be your films, it could be whatever you create, your photography, your clothing store, your coffee shop, whatever type of business it is. Every customer goes through this journey or through this funnel. So it all starts with awareness. So how do you create awareness? And of course, the fast and easy way to do it is through digital marketing, right? But the other way to create awareness is through content, by having consistent, recurring content. It's a great way to reach people, especially if you're doing the collaborations, right? And we'll talk a little bit about building a brand and all those brand items or topics that we're going to cover. These are all top of funnel things that, again, bring people to your music eventually, but first you have to get their attention. So you have to create awareness, and you're taking this cold audience now and we're warming them up. They're not really a hot audience yet. So after they're aware you exist, however they've heard about you the first time, now you have a retargeting campaign, right? So you retarget that audience. The easiest way, again, to do that is through digital ads, right? So you really can run a digital ad of people have watched a specific video of yours or have listened to a specific podcast of yours. So now you can retarget them again with ads or just more content, right? By interviewing and collaborating with more people within that community, right? So if you're a certain type of hip hop artist and you've collaborated with an artist in a certain region, maybe you do a whole series that's focused on artists from that region, right? Or maybe even, again, the more niche you can get, the better, right? So maybe it's all female artists from Orlando, or all artists under 18 from Atlanta, right? Whatever it is, have some kind of regular series within your recurring content. So the next 4 episodes are focused on this, right? Or next 8 episodes are focused on that. Create these series. So at least that's another way of reaching those same people again, because if they're fans of a certain artist from a certain city or region, they're most likely also fans of other artists within that region, right? So that's a great free way you can do it, just focusing on content to get people through this journey. And then once they've seen 2 to 4 pieces of content, now that audience warms up more, right? Now they're almost a hot audience. So now they're moving on to what's called a consideration phase. Now, if you were to try to sell them something, they would potentially consider it. And in that consideration phase, you want to have an opt-in offer, right? Something where they're opting in to do something. So they're opting in to subscribe to your email list. They're opting in to get on your SMS texting list. They're opting in to get on your Discord channel or Slack channel, whatever it is, right? Create some kind of community somewhere. Facebook groups works as well. The best, I think, is still email because you can do the most with it. But these other channels work too, right? So again, really know your audience, know where they hang out, and that's probably the best option to where you want to get them to opt into on your list. And once you're on your list, now they're a hot audience, right? Now it's pretty easy to get someone to buy something. So now if you want someone to buy an album, buy a ticket to a show, buy a vinyl, buy a merch bundle, whatever it is, buy a subscription, right? That's my favorite strategy, getting them to buy a subscription to your Patreon or a subscription to your Bandzoogle or your Locals, whatever it is. But get them to buy a subscription ideally, because that's usually a smaller item. Let's say that's $5 a month, $10 a month, right? $20 a month. And then from there, you go into the retention phase, and that's where you now try to sell the bigger packages, right? Because hopefully they've already gotten a lot of value out of this whole journey, out of the awareness, education, consideration, the purchase stage. And then because they've gotten so much value, you want to retain them as a customer by getting them to buy more things. And that's where these bigger packages can come in, these merch bundles, these VIP experiences, and so on. And then the fans that really have gotten a lot of value and are really into all the things that you're doing, those fans move on to what's called advocacy or super fan stage. And those are fans that become promoters and advocates of your business, your brand. They're the ones out there promoting you for you. So that's, and this promotion that they're doing, that's why it's kind of, I like the circle form better than the actual funnel shape, because these super fans, their promotion is going to create awareness. And if you can work with them in honing in their promotion to have a very specific promotion campaign to where you know how to retarget that's the best way to go, right? Have your super fans or advocates share a very specific piece of content or a very specific link so you can come back in and retarget those people with additional content and kind of put them through a whole cycle again, right? So that's the customer journey or the customer funnel. Now, when it comes to finding your ideal fans, it's kind of important. It is very important to really know as much about your ideal fan as possible, right? So you want to know what, of course, the geographical information, but of course, if it's music, you're not just located in a certain region. Of course, you might want to target several different geographical regions, right? So I was like focusing on the demographic data, psychographic data, and the behavioral data. So with that, the more you know about your ideal fan, the better, right? And with this data, when I always use the example when you walk into a mall, and what is your ideal fan wearing when they're walking into the mall? Where are they parking? Are they parking near the food court? Are they parking near the restaurants? Are they parking near um, the big stores like Macy's, Dillard's, or whatever, Bloomingdale's? Are they parking near just the main, like a general mall entrance? And then once they walk in, what stores do they go to, right? What stores in that mall are they going to? Where are they eating? If they're going to eat something, if they're playing on their phone while going through the mall, what are they on? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? Are they on TikTok? Like, what apps do they have open and are they using while they're going through the mall? Or are they just talking on the phone? Are they listening to podcasts while they're walking through the mall? The more you know about your customers' behavior, the better you're going to understand them and the easier it'll be to reach those potential fans, right? So if the best way to kind of do this research, if you really want to dive in, so let's say you know that your ideal fans are probably fans of these lists of artists, then what you can do is go to those artists pages and click on their fans and literally look at what are their fans posting about, right? Look at 100, 200 fans. This could be something that could take you a couple of weeks to do. It could be a couple of week project to really try to understand your fan. But now when you're spending money on marketing, on flyers, on digital ads, whatever type of marketing it is, it's going to be so much easier to find and reach those fans because you really understand their psychographic and behavioral attributes on where they hang out, how they behave, and what they like to do. It's going to make it so much easier to find your fans. And then with this comes this exercise. We've done this exercise in the past. If you're part of the Making Academy, if not, feel free to reach out to me if you have questions about this, and maybe I'll do a separate video that's just the artist ID where I go in filling this out. But basically, what you want to do is create a giant list of artists. Right, the longer this list, the better. And I usually categorize them into four, and there's a few different categories. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4 categories. So this list includes any artists that are A-list artists. These are artists playing, stadiums, arenas, amphitheaters. Most people are familiar with these artists. Then you have emerging artists. So these are artists that are newer. They're within the first few years of their career. It's their first 1 or 2 albums, and they're kind of really starting to bubble and come up. And this really could be any time, right? It can be, have been doing this for 20 years and only been like a really small like baby band, and now they're all of a sudden start emerging and they're building a name for themselves. They're playing 1,000 to 2,000 capacity venues. They're selling out some of them, maybe all of them, and they're maybe close to getting ready to jump to the A-list level, or they might just stay there. And if they stay there for a while, then they become legacy artists, right? These are artists that have been around for a long time. They play 1,000 or even 750 to 2,000 cap venues. They sell out some markets. There are stronger markets. Some markets they might play a little bit of a smaller venue, but they've been around for a long time, and most people generally know who these artists are. You can also fall from A-list down to legacy, right? Some artists may have been A-list artists for a long time, and now they're still around. People still know who they are. They still pay top dollar to see those artists, but now they're just like in the legacy category because they're not really in the limelight playing arenas and stadiums or amphitheaters all the time. Then you also have your baby bands, which I don't have on this list, but your baby bands, those would be newer artists that have just gotten signed by agencies or labels, and they're very new. They're playing, small clubs, 100 to 200 person clubs, maybe 400 person clubs in some areas. And those are your baby bands. Then you have local and regional artists. These are artists that are just in your hometown and in your region. They're not signed to a label. They're not signed to an agency. They may or may not have a manager, and they just play within that city or that region, but they're actually out playing shows, right? And then I always, when I do this exercise with students, I have to provide 5 for each category for me. If you do this for yourself in real life, really the bigger the better, right? If you have 20 artists per category, that's going to help you so much more for many reasons. Let me explain. If you fill in the rest of this chart, right? Who's their management? Who's their manager? Who's their label? Who's their agency? Who's their producer, who's their mixing engineer, their mastering engineer. This is going to give you a giant list of people that, with some people kind of recurring over and over again, those are the people you want to network with. These are the people you want to build relationships with, right? So one major benefit of this list or this exercise. The other benefit is your local or regional artist. When you're first starting out, those are the ones you want to do shows with, right? Those are the ones you want to play with. And then if you want to start, like, let's say you want to open for some of these A-list artists or legacy artists or emerging artists, the best thing you can do there is find those agents and management companies and reach out to their baby bands or their baby artists, right? Some of their newer artists that people may have not heard of yet, and try to open for those, because they usually always need local openers. And then you just got to crush it. Like, you got to sell 50 to 100 tickets and try to do it for another one of their artists, right? Try to do 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Always send a thank you. Ideally, this is something where you can send a thank you card. I know people like Gary Vee are not very precious on a card. They say just the faster you can send a thank you, the better. So you could send a thank you email, maybe with a follow-up card or follow-up, a thank you gift, like get them a bottle of wine, get them a bottle of liquor or something. But if you do that, go to that level, then it's got to be something nice. Like, don't buy a $10 bottle of wine. At least 50 or up should be the price of a bottle of something that you might send somebody. And then, the more you open up for their smaller artists, the more you're going to be on their radar, and the more likely you're going to get noticed. And the goal is just to build a friendly relationship with these people, right? Just stay in contact with them regularly. Don't be annoying. Send them short, quick messages. Don't try to get signed. Like, don't try to get them to represent you. They'll come to you. Like, the goal is just, in the beginning stages, is just getting them to know you exist. And this is a great way of them knowing you exist and knowing your work ethic, right? So here's just a sample of a more detailed artist ID exercise. This is one of my students that did this, right? So it just gives you a giant list of people. You'll see some people pop up a few different times, even on a list this short. But again, the longer this list is, the more likely you're going to see some similar names over and over again. All right, so let's go into a few quick tips of branding. So this first lesson is very foundational, right? So I'm bouncing around a little bit with a few different exercises, because we're going to dive in deep into this one, into some topics we haven't covered yet. And I just want to kind of set the foundation. So everyone kind of should start here, and this gives you a good foundation. And we can branch off in a lot of different areas. We can launch off into a branding series. We can launch off into a just strictly digital marketing series, and so on. But like I said, this focus is going to be mostly on building the foundation, the structure of your business, which has the funnel side, or building your customer journey out and your subscription platforms out, and knowing the legal side as well, right? Knowing how things to look for in artist management deals, record deals, and so on. But again, branding is very foundational. So some of the big important things on branding is you have to narrow your focus, right? Focus really deep on one or two things. So maybe it's your music and your content, and that's it. Like, don't waste any other time on anything else. The more you are just dialed in and focused on that, and create as much as you can in those one or two things, the faster the ball is going to get rolling in the future, right? They say an overnight sensation works really, really hard for 10 years, and then they get discovered. So you're just working really, really hard for a few years on just this foundation. And then as your business grows, as you start making money and revenue, and you hire people to take things off your plate, now you can expand into other areas, right? It's like, my favorite example is Jay-Z. When he started out, he was just a machine at cranking out music, music as content, right? And as his business grew, as his team grew, now he started expanding into other areas. But first focus, and once you have a team to take on the small tasks and the day-to-day tasks, that's when you start expanding into other areas. And some of those people on that team, right, can also manage things, those tasks into things that you're expanding into. So a lot of benefits to waiting until you have that team first, unless otherwise you're just spread thin, and that's just really going to damage your business and everything you're doing. Become a leader of a category. Like, find a subgenre or a niche within your niche, and just become a leader in that, right? Or maybe find something just a small group of people are doing, and just try to be the best at that, or be completely new and be completely unique, right? And just become a leader of that. And I always like showing this graphic of 1,000 true fans, because at the end of the day, you don't need to focus on millions of followers, millions of fans. All you need is 1,000. So if you have 1,000 people that are subscribed to your Patreon, paying you $10 a month, that's $10,000 a month, right? $120,000 a year. That is all you need to get started with building a solid foundation of your business. Even if you have a $5 level on your Patreon, 1,000 people paying $5 a month, that's $60,000 a year. You can do that all on your own. And I always say, if you have the ability to find at least 10 to 20 real fans that are not your family, that are not your best friends, then you probably have the ability to find 1,000 people, right? They may not all be in the same region. They might be spread all over the world. But there's billions of people on the planet. Like, everyone should be able to find that 1,000. So find your 1,000. Don't waste time on vanity metrics and trying to get millions of followers. Because again, if you have 1,000 people paying $10 a month, you have a real business right there. Consistency is the key, right? I would love to be more consistent with the YouTube channel, with the Making It Academy and the podcast, and we're getting there. We're getting more and more consistent and putting out more content, but consistency is the key. It's so important. I lose followers or lose listeners when I'm not consistent. So the more consistent I am, the more listeners, the more followers I build, and the more consistent you are, the more likely you are going to be to build momentum. Now, things come up, life happens, right? But once life happens, just try to get right back on the wagon as fast as you can with creating recurring content. Quality is important, but don't get stuck in quality. Get the best gear you can right now to get started. If your budget's only $100, it's only $100, and you start there. And you go ahead and launch, and your beginning might be low quality, and then you build up as you go, right? And as with each week, with each month, with each year, you just get a little bit better. And after enough time went by, all of a sudden the quality of what you're creating is going to be absolutely amazing, because you took the chance to get those reps in, right? Because if you're waiting for it to be perfect, there's always areas to improve, whether it's editing, whether it's recording, whether it's whatever it is, or video quality or lighting. There's always areas to improve. So don't wait for it to be perfect right now. Do the best possible quality you can do right now, but make sure it's the best quality also, to where you don't let quality make you get stuck or make you get precious, right? Like, don't get stuck in obsessing over quality. Like, I guess, have the best quality you can do consistently, and then build up from that. Then know that visuals matter, right? Colors that you use matter. Logos that you use matter. Know what colors and logos your competitors are using. Know what these colors mean. Like, when it comes to color psychology, you can just search any graphic, or just search the word color psychology of color, whether it's on Google or DuckDuckGo or wherever you're searching. Just search psychology of color, and you'll get all kinds of graphics like this with what these different colors mean, different samples of logos, and so on. But know that colors mean something, and also either square or horizontal logos are always better than vertical logos when it comes to people to remembering and recognizing your logos. We talked about a collaboration a lot already, right? So, when it comes to branding, collaboration is a big key, right? The type of people you collaborate with. And again, if you're doing it around recurring content, then create different series focusing on different things. But collaboration is key for recurring content, and it's key when it comes to building a brand. Storytelling, right? So I always say, like I said earlier, music's the last thing that matters until people hear it, and then it's the only thing that matters. So lead people to your music with story, by telling stories through your videos, through your podcast, through your photos, through your written form. Always focus on telling good stories. If there's anything in addition to your craft that you can work on becoming a better storyteller. You cannot take enough courses, read enough books, watch enough videos on telling good stories, right? Or study people whose stories you admire, but learn how to become a storyteller. And that is really going to lead people to your content, to your music. Okay, so getting outside of the branding part now, this is still branding, but when it comes to trying to figure out what type of content should you create, right? Figure out I call these buckets usually, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one's 6. So 6 buckets or categories. Create a map of things that make you, right? So for example, if I did this for me, so I'd be in the middle. Topic A would be music. Topic B would be podcasting. Topic C would be wrestling. Topic D would be teaching. Topic E could be gardening, and topic F could be exercise, right? So those are things that are unique and authentic to me, things that I am into. So now it's the question you need to answer: what which of these topics can I create consistent recurring content around, right? And then when it comes to just posting on social media daily, if you stick to these 6 topics on consistent basis, that's how you build a really good brand, right? The Rock does this perfectly. You'll see, behind the scenes in the movies, business, wrestling, working out, epic cheat days, and tequila, right? Those are like his 6 categories. And if you look through his Instagram feed, most of his posts are on those 6 categories. They're not promotional. They're not buy me on music, support this, subscribe to that. No marketing. It's just showing his personality. And that's the best thing you can do when it comes to posting on social media, the best thing you can do when it comes to creating content. Find a category. So when it comes to creating recurring content, as like a podcast or video, you want to focus on one of these 6. But when it comes to posting daily on social media, you can post about all of these on a consistent basis. And I have the 70-20-10 rule where 70% of the stuff you share on social media is in one of those 6 categories. 20% is sharing other people's content, and then 10% is promotional, right? So again, promotion should be as little as possible. You really want to just get people's attention through your branding, through your stories, through your recurring content. That is all of your top of funnel stuff, your free stuff. People want to connect with a real person, an authentic person, someone they have similar interests with. That is the best way you can build a brand and recurring content. And then quick introduction into this. This is a business model canvas, and I'll do a separate video on this for the YouTube channel. But for the class, we've talked about this a little bit already, but this is basically a business plan on one sheet of paper, right? These are all the different categories of that business plan. You kind of basically start here with your value proposition. So what value is it that you are offering to your audience, whether it's with your music or your content, right? And you can both. You can do this for both. You can do this for your music and for your content. So what's the value you offer? What is your relationship with your customers? So how do you engage with them? So you engage with them through your content, through email, through social media. You use Discord, you use Facebook groups, right? And so on. Actually, I'm sorry. Got it. So what relationship does each customer segment expect you to establish and maintain, right? So what does the relationship look like? How often do you communicate? Where do you communicate? These are the channels you use most often. Customer segments, that's the stuff we looked at earlier, your demographic information, psychographic information, behavioral information, that all comes here. Who are your key partners, right? Who are the people involved in your business that you need to help make this happen? Manager, attorney, social media manager, assistant, and so on. What are the key activities? So what activities does your business do from day to day? So it's recording content, right? It is editing content, it's posting content, scheduling content, writing music, going into the recording studio, and so on, and key resources that you need to create all of these activities, right? What are some resources that you need? Editing programs, studio time, and so on. And what are all your expenses? And then what are your revenue streams? And let's look at 2 quick examples. Here's an example of Netflix. So key partners is consumer electronics, cable companies and broadcasters, producers, right? Those are the key partners. Key activities, production and licensing is their key activities that they do day to day. And the development of the Netflix platform. Then key resources is the Netflix platform as a movie portfolio. And then Marca, I don't know what that is. So Marca, they have listed as key resources. And then value proposition, watch on demand entertainment where and when you want it, right? And then customer relationship, self-service and AI recommendations. So the AI recommends what you can watch, and then the self-service is you can just pick and choose what you want to watch. So that's the relationship they have. And then the channels, any device or Netflix app, and then customer segments, movie lovers, people that love movies, right? So it's not as detailed as the other one. So the more detail you get with all this stuff, the better. And you can read the rest of these. And then the other example is Uber, right? So you can guys just quickly read through that, but this is basically the business model canvas that someone created for Uber. And again, the more detailed you get on all these different things, the more you're going to get out of it. So that's introduction of the business model canvas. What I'll do, you can just search, if you're on YouTube, you can search business model canvas. You can get a blank one, fill that out. There's plenty of videos on YouTube as well about creating business model canvases. So I'll throw some of those in the show notes. And then for those of you in the academy, I'll throw in a blank business model canvas if you guys want to create one. And then, like I said, I'll do another video very soon of some musician examples of business model canvases. So I'll need to create some, and then what I'll do, I'll post those, and I'll do a quick little video on them as well. And that's it. So if you're watching on YouTube, no assignments for you guys. But if you have any questions, please feel free to drop those down in the comments and leave your questions there. Take a quick second to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Would super appreciate that. And anybody in the academy, if you have any questions, just reach out. You know how to reach me. You can reach me on Patreon. You can reach me by email. Some of you guys have my phone number. So make sure you reach out. Let me know if you have any questions on any of this stuff. Thank you all for watching lesson number 1 out of our next 12-week journey. This is the foundation, right? So this is kind of where you can always reference back to if you have any questions about things or wanting to revisit some of these things. So I wish everyone an awesome rest of the day whenever you're watching this. Until next time, go see shows, meet people, make stuff. Live the life you love, my friends. Peace.
Live the life you love.